Hello, everybody, and welcome to another interview. We have Mercedes Cornelius here with us, and Mercedes is a PhD student in quantum physics. Welcome, Mercedes.
Thank you. I feel very welcomed. Hello, everyone.
All right, so can you tell us just a little bit more about, your field of study and your PhD?
Yeah, so as Marek mentioned, I'm a first year going on second year PhD student in quantum physics at the University of Cambridge. I'm originally from Florida in the United States of America. And I finished my master's fellowship in China before then, and I did my bachelor's in California. So as you guys probably know, like PhD is my PhD degree is a research-based degree. So it's a lot of writing, it's a lot of reading, and it's a lot of understanding material and asking questions. So I felt like this program was very helpful for that, and that's why I decided to hop on board. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And I think you joined the program like in February, was it, or sometime
it was
early?
Sometime a little bit after Christmas, I think.
Yeah, cool. So what was your situation before joining the program?
Well, I had a goal. I had a goal, and it was a very specific goal, and I knew that if I wanted to meet that goal, it would be very helpful to have someone who's done it before or knows how to do it. I'm a first generation college student and PhD student, so it's not that I have like a lot of people who could tell me how to do it. And also, even if I did have other people, and I kind of do because I have an uncle who has a PhD in physics, it's a very specific kind of regimen that kind of attracted me to the program. And it gave me like confidence that there is like something that I could learn that could help me rather than struggling every day and reading and rather than struggling every day and trying to find it on my own. There's someone out there who could help me with their experience to be able to find it more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. All right, yeah. So, what were like some of the maybe specific challenges that you were facing at the beginning?
Yes. So I guess my first thing was, first year PhD student in another country. So there was a lot of things that was a bit challenging. And then also during the pandemic. So I didn't have a lot of time to interact with other students. This program allows me to interact with other students online, and it's from different schools and different countries. So you can learn other things as well. So that was also very helpful. And one of the things I was struggling with, I was also struggling with actually starting to write. It wasn't that I needed somebody to give me a pen and paper, but it was rather to know how I should start. Like, do I need to wait for me to actually start an experiment in order to start writing? No, as I learned from Marek, that it's actually okay you can start writing before you do an experiment as long as you have a plan. You can start writing out, like you can think of it like a story. You already know what the synopsis is going to be. All I got to do is have a picture of the synopsis, write out maybe the table of contents in the first chapter, and then I can wait until I do the experiment to write the rest of the chapters, the climax, and finish with the conclusion. So that was another specific problem I was having. Another problem I was having was knowing that my goal was actually achievable. So to have a published paper is an achievable goal, but it does take a lot of time and effort, and you have to be very attentive to finishing your job. A lot of people, I hear stories about people like they work on things and they have a lot of knowledge, but my thing was I wanted to complete something because that's very important to me. I want to be able to say, oh, I've done this, I started this, I worked with this, I finished it. So that way somebody can look it up and see, okay, this person has done that, because anybody can have knowledge. You can Google stuff, but to finish something was really important to me. And that's also something that Marek's program also attracted me with. And and has also helped me to implement in my day-to-day work.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you mentioned a little, that you had specific goals as well when you started. So can you tell us a little bit more what goals you had then?
Yeah, when I met Marek, I was in the middle of completing my literature review that I was writing. It's finished now, but I was in the middle of writing that, and that took me so long. I started in August and I finished in December. I felt like maybe it could have gone faster than August to December. And if I were to take like, what is that, 5 months, 5 or 6 or 7 months to write a paper each time, then I feel like I probably wouldn't reach my goal, which is to publish more than one paper, at least, like, might be a little bit ambitious, but I want to publish like 7 papers.
Mhm.
People might roll their eyes right now, but that I think that it's a very achievable goal, and very difficult, and probably not like very common, but it is the goal that I'm aiming towards. So
Mm.
I feel like with a lot of planning and a lot of attention to detail and being very resourceful with what you have, I think it's attainable. And that also helps by having somebody who is a plan master, like somebody whose goal is to master a plan. And Marek has definitely shown me that his goal is to master a plan, and his program is tailored to master a plan. So yeah.
Mhm. And you also said that, and I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with as well, is, you know, like looking at a maybe blank sheet of paper and not being able to start writing. So what, like, I mean, what advice would you have for people like that, or what did we do, you know, to help you get over that problem?
Okay, so, well, I mean, one of the things you did was, like you said, just start writing, right? But I mean, like, lots of people can say just start writing, but it's how do you start writing? And one of the things that helped me from your program was when you told me, like, a little bit, as I was saying in the beginning, like, you can just start writing. You can start writing the table of contents, the chapter, which you know it's going to be about. You know, there's an introduction that goes to papers usually. You can start to write that. You can start to read what other people have done in the field, and then rather than just reading, like you can, like, yeah, writing, and then also like planning your experiments, and like not only that, being able to start writing also starts with planning out the rest of your afternoon, rest of your day, maybe your weekend. And the program also comes with ways to do that as well. Mindsets, how to read effectively. So before, I would read papers, a scientific paper, I would read paper line by line. I would underline each line, anything that was important. If there's a word that I was missing, I would circle it and look at the definition and write it back later. And I would reread it again. Like, although that will help me to remember the paper and like to really understand the paper, it might not be necessary for every single one of the papers. And I used to read like that. So with the program, Marek comes up with an effective guide to reading, and he even has a pre-made chart that you can use, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that was really helpful with reading stuff. And it will also help me to go back and look to see what I've read, rather than having to have a printout of a bunch of papers with my notes scribbled over in the margin. And even so, if you want to be more neat and have it in a notebook, you're gonna have a lot of notebooks during your PhD if you're gonna write down every single detail that you think is important in a notebook. You're gonna have a lot of notebooks, and that notebooks, especially for a research-based degree like in the physical sciences, could be better used off made with experiments. And it'll probably have a more impact with your it'll probably have more of an impact with your papers as well, because knowing other people's research and being able to regurgitate somebody else's results is not as impressive as having your own. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that Marek has in his program helps me to drive my own car, rather than putting in somebody else's wheel and turning the ignition, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, totally. And I think, you know, a lot of students want that. They want to, I mean, ultimately you're starting the PhD to be able to do everything yourself, right? I don't think anybody wants, you know, someone else to do it for you. The fun is when, like yourself, you actually learn how to drive your own car, and then, you know, and then maybe you tune it up to your own preferences, you know, and you make it
Exactly.
your own car, and you drive it
Exactly.
as you
Exactly.
want to drive it.
Exactly. A Mercedes, a brand new Mercedes.
Exactly. Yeah. What sort of Mercedes would you be if you were a car?
I mean, well, my name is Mercedes, but I
Yeah.
mean,
What
yeah,
what brand of Mercedes would you be? Would you be like a luxurious Mercedes, or more like a sports one, or a
I would
tiny city
definitely,
one?
I'm luxurious on the weekdays and sports on the weekends.
All right. Awesome. So like you joined in, you know, in February more or less, and now we are in August. So can you tell us a little bit more about, like, you know, the journey and what you've achieved since then?
So yeah, so during the time since I've met Marek and joined the program, I have been able to, so yeah, there's a lot. Let me just think. So first off, I am every PhD student at the University of Cambridge, and maybe in England, I'm not sure, but for sure in Cambridge, they have to do a first year report. And that basically that basically shows what the student has been doing since they accepted. A little bit more in layman's terms, they're making sure that you haven't just been mucking about ever since you started the program. So you actually have done something that's going to ultimately contribute to your research and your graduation. So that's what my program, so to go back to Marik's question, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
No, that's fine. So, we were talking about like what you've done since then, and you had to
Yeah,
write
so
that first year report.
Yeah, the first year report consists of, it has to be at least 20 pages long, in the whatever format deemed appropriate by your supervisor, about the work that you've done from the beginning, ultimately, to the work that you've done that you will start to do once after the first year report is done, and everything basically to show that you know what you need to do for your project. Your project is actually doable. Your professor has resources and teachers available for you to complete the project, and you have enough time and space in order to do that. So so what the program has done for me is, like being a quantum physicist in training, I guess. It was a lot of like machine learning. It was a lot of like making sure, like oftentimes I find like scientists, they write on paper, but what happens in real life kind of is hard to put on paper. And, with me, it could be even more so because physics is like really hard to express in a way that is not something you already understand, because physics is like kind of a field where you're more in your mind than you are with socializing with people. So it can be hard to put on paper what you're trying to say when you already feel that everybody else understands what you're saying. So I don't even know if that sounded like understandable, but sometimes what you want to say is not like sometimes what you want to mean is very hard to say. So it's really helpful to have someone like Marek with his background and his training and his experience, to be able to like help you, like give you like a little bit of push with that. And there's also like resources inside the program itself with other students who you can ask questions with, and you can get a little bit of feel, and you can read about their experiences as well. So for my first year report, Marek, I basically got access to the program, and I read and I did all the modules. But then when it became my program specifically, that's when I started to go to a module that was pertinent to whatever problem I was having. And then, just one moment.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Then, okay. So after, after I started reading the modules that were specific to my program, I would start to write that section. I would post it in the community, and also post it inside the program, so that way I can get feedback on it. That's not mandatory, but it might be helpful for some people. Not a lot of my research was unconfidential, so I couldn't post it to the community. I had to just send it to Murray. But if it wasn't confidential, I would have just posted it to the community. And it was very helpful because I was able to talk with other people who weren't physics, and I was able to explain to them, okay, so this is what I'm trying to explain, and this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I have done. How can I write it in a way that it makes sense to you? So that was also very helpful. And ultimately, I felt so confident about my work. Like, I felt so confident about my work. It was like such a great feeling of relief. The feedback that I got from my professors was almost like, it was almost like, how you feel like a little bit like overwhelmed, this hard work has really paid off. I've actually learned something. I can see the results. That's how I felt after the program. And that's like the help that I got from Marie. So yeah, it was very helpful.
Amazing.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with that at all. Usually you're always working on stuff to the very last minute, and you're like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. Oh, I got to do this. I didn't have that at all. I finished in a very timely basis. And I was writing, I was asking for feedback. I took the appropriate time back. I attended the question and A sessions, and there's question and A sessions about 2 times a week that you can go and you can ask other people questions, and you can hear other questions. And sometimes there isn't anyone even there, and you're just there with Marek, and you just have like this 30-minute to 20-minute interval where it's just you and him talking about stuff. And you can put it directly in your paper. And it felt really, really reassuring to know that I had worked diligently and I wasn't waiting till the last minute to do anything. And I would have gotten a great amount of sleep when I submitted it. It's just that I also had to write it in LaTeX, which is the scientific programming for equations and coding that goes with physics equations. So I had to learn how to do that. So unfortunately, there isn't a LaTeX how to outside of YouTube. So, but I mean, like, other than that, and I was even able to help other people in the community who also had questions about LaTeX. So it's like a give and return kind of thing as well. So it's like, oh, if one person doesn't know it, it's not to say nobody else knows it. There are so many people with so many different backgrounds in the program. You can ask a question and you're likely to get an answer. And yeah, so I didn't have any issues with my writing at all. Like, everything was like if it was a dessert, somebody would kiss it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a lovely metaphor. So, what happened after you handed in the report and then you had an exam, right?
Yeah, so I handed in my report, and then it took a minute for my professors to read it. And then took a minute for my professors to read it. And then I had basically an oral exam, which was basically what I written on paper. So they asked me questions about it. Ask me more questions. I'm
Yeah, sure. But you said like the feedback from the professors was very good and you felt confident about your own work, right?
Yeah, like, so when I submitted it, when I gave it to my supervisor to read over before I submitted it, they really were like, there's really nothing we can say. Like, people can kick up about something, but there really wasn't much to kick up about. And even after my report, my professors who were examining me told me that they enjoyed reading my paper. I was like, oh, you enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? That's a very deep word. You can't just say you enjoy something. Like, you have to really, you can hear that, there's joy in that word. So not only did they enjoy it in that context of what enjoyed means, they had joy in it. So my paper brought them joy. My paper brought them happiness. My hard work brought somebody else's happiness. And I'm happy too. I was joyous when I wrote it. So they found enjoyment. Right? I'm reading it. I was joyous by writing it.
Yes. Yeah. I guess, I mean, that's also amazing because, like, I think for a lot of people, writing is very painful. And then, sometimes, the feedback that they get from the professors is more like, a lack of joy, that it was also painful to read. Whereas you're saying that for you, it was, it was enjoyable to write. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. I know how much hard work you put into it, but, it was a more enjoyable process. And then your professors enjoyed reading your work as well.
Yeah. So I was super excited. Like, there was nothing that could knock my confidence when I submitted that paper. It was just preparation afterwards, and even preparation afterwards when I submitted it, there was resources that Marie provided online in the program that talks about some questions that are like generic questions that they could ask you, and I use those questions also to study. So I just felt very confident. I felt like I had a lot of things at my fingertips to use to help me prepare.
That's awesome. So what are some of the next steps, or your next goals, for the rest of this year or the upcoming months?
So the rest of this year, I'm going to continue my PhD, and hopefully I'll be finished in about 2 years. And then after that, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. There's a lot of potential in my field, and there's a lot to do in my field, in particular for my research. And there's a lot of there's a lot of, what's this thing called, room for new things, for exciting things, for joyful things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, like, just to finish off, like, what advice would you give to other PhD students who perhaps, are also right now struggling with what you were struggling before? So, perhaps they don't know where to start writing. They're staring at a blank piece of paper. They're taking a long time to write, and they're not enjoying the process.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I would say on onset that, like a PhD, everybody knows, is hard work. Being in school is like hard work, but it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to go through it alone. There are resources out there, like Marie's program, that can help you. And I found Marie's program to be the best fit for me. And I have not regretted my decision. And, I've seen improvement in how I write. I've seen improvement in how I think. And I also have acquired at least 2 writing buddies that, you know, they sit there with me writing while I write my stuff as well. And I find that like exceptional. Like that's very rare to find, especially post Corona. And yeah, also especially with, you know, trying to get a publication out, because you know, it's very important to finish. And that's what I want to do. And I know that's what's really uh the thing that everybody else wants to do. And if you want to do it, it does require hard work, but it doesn't have to be by yourself alone. And it doesn't have to be like mentally like draining. You know, there are ways to do it right and to get the results that you want in a way that you don't have to like abuse yourself and abuse your body. And I feel like by that I mean like abuse body by like staying up late at night and like, you know, having to do all this, or like having to copy and paste something from the internet. You don't have to do that. Marek is here. And yeah, so I would say that definitely plug yourself in, know what you want to do, write down what you know that you need to do in order to accomplish what you need to do, and ask questions. So I would definitely say that's my thing.
Mhm. All right, awesome, and congratulations once again on what you achieved. Like, I mean, it's been amazing seeing you, you know, go through this journey, and I'm really excited as well to, you know, to help you on the way
And be a
forward.
part of it.
Yeah,
And be a
absolutely,
part of it. Thank you
absolutely,
so much.
and enjoy reading your text as well. I mean, I've learned a lot as well about quantum physics from
Thank
you.
you.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I appreciate it.